Part 85. Online games, only I can see hidden information. Author, Minjai Old Thief. Chapter 841. This is really not my half-copper coin. Shadow Brother said with an innocent face. In the Eternal Temple, Yabai yawned and said casually. Don't worry about who owns this half-copper coin, just say whether you want it or not. Shadow Brother. He didn't expect that, after not seeing him for several years, in the blink of an eye, the thief who stole his source of shadows would suddenly transform and truly become the strongest person in the human race. Although Yabai has a certain degree of success in being the most powerful person. But this moisture level is relative to that of the most powerful demon god. For other beings, there is no difference. In front of Yabai, they had no ability to resist. The Shadow Brother did not continue this topic, but looked at the shadow source in front of him and asked timidly. Are you really going to give this thing back to me? Fake. Yabai rolled his eyes and said angrily. If you don't take it away, I will regret it. I'll take it. I'll take it. The Shadow Brother quickly took the shadow source back, still feeling like he was in a dream. No one knows better than him the meaning and value of shadow source. If he wants to go further, Shadow Brother must get back the source of the shadow. He just didn't expect that things would become so simple. For a moment, I didn't know what to say. Okay, I've also come to see the Eternal Temple. It's time to go. Yabai walked around the Eternal Temple, saw the god of fire who hated evil, and also saw some traces of Xueju's actions. Before, Yabai didn't know that the human king Xueju was the nightmare, and the nightmare was Xueju. By the time everything came to light, it was already too late. All gone. Kagami is an irritable old man, the kind who has an explosive level of Shuyuni. After the death of his rival Poseidon, Vulcan couldn't help but laugh out loud and drink 2 kilograms every time he thought about this. There was indeed nothing worth worrying about for Yabai in the Eternal Temple. Because the things worth remembering here have long been taken away by the human race. No scum was left for Yabai. Unacceptable. Yabai patted the Shadow Brother on the head and said with emotion. Xiaju didn't mean to steal your things back then. Xiaju. The Shadow Brother couldn't react for a moment and asked curiously. Are you talking about Brother Xueju? Yabai. People can be crazy, but not this crazy. Shadow 9. Yabai smiled and shook his head. Let him talk to you when he wakes up. Yingju is in good condition and Yabai has seen it several times. If you want him to transform into a human being, it is not enough to have dreams come true, you also need my heart is free. As the origin of the upper world, the butterfly will never make mistakes in this matter. The reason is simple. 9 generations of the most powerful human beings. If any problem arises in any generation, it will affect the great cause of killing the most powerful demon god. He won't do that. If the opponent is too rational and smart, it is easy to guess what he will do. Before leaving, Yabai looked at the other party helplessly and said. You stole a gold coin from me. Ahem. The Shadow Brother was a little embarrassed and said apologetically. Sorry, it's a bit of an occupational disease. He is the god of stealing, and it is really not his fault that he likes to steal things. It's okay, I forgive you. Yabai did not accept the gold coin, but asked Shadow Brother to keep it as a souvenir. I'll come back and get it in a few years. After saying that, Yabai's figure disappeared from the place and left the Eternal Temple. What a good man. The Shadow Brother held a gold coin in his hand and couldn't help but sigh. Are all the strongest human beings such good people? Others are. The slightly drunk Vulcan took a sip of wine, walked to the Shadow Brother, and said slowly. I'm not sure if this one is. The Shadow Brother took out the proof. I stole a gold coin from him and he didn't even care. Vulcan just smiled and said nothing more. The next moment, Shadow Brother suddenly panicked. Where are my things? Where are all the things in my storage space? Where has he stolen so many treasures for so many years? Gone. All gone. Who has the ability to steal in front of a would-be thief? The answer is self-evident. Kagami burst out laughing. Why are you laughing? The shadow brother looked at the gloating Vulcan with a sad face. I just stole your wine stash. Vulcan. The temple of eternity is empty. The devil is in the world. After leaving the eternal temple, Yabai went to many places and met many people. He met his classmates and old friends in various forms. The only thing they have in common is that Yabai did not reveal his identity as the most powerful person. He is not a show-off person. Too lazy to mention it. Yabai no longer needs to do more things. He knows very well that the upper world still needs people to live. The traceless sword can protect this territory at all times. Yabai had more important things to do. On a night that no one knew, Yabai took out the petrified butterfly from his pocket. Without any hesitation, Yabai crushed the butterfly and started on the way home. When the aperture in front of his eyes sucked Yabai into it. At this moment, Yabai finally understood. Why didn't Xiaoao give him the complete mark of the strongest? Yabai cannot become the strongest. At least not now. Otherwise, he would not be able to go home, as this passage could not bear the presence of the most powerful person. Third brother, it's true, I cried to death. After a space distortion, Yabai appeared outside a blue planet. This planet is a bit strange to him. A dog's head poked out from behind Yabai's head, looking at the distant planet. Two words appeared in front of Yabai's eyes. Earth. Online games, only I can see hidden information. Author, Minjai Old Thief. Chapter 842. Home. A young man in white clothes appeared on a strange yet familiar street. The people around him looked at him in surprise. He was dressed a little strangely and was out of tune with everyone. There is a convention and exhibition center nearby, which holds comic exhibitions all year round, as well as a photo studio, and photographers are often nearby. The young man looked a little vicissitudes of life, as if he had experienced something. Although he was very handsome, he had a strong aura and had the oppressive feeling of a superior person who was not angry but fearless, which made people around him afraid to approach him. A passing photographer was attracted by the young man, bravely stepped forward and asked curiously. Brother, you play Cos, right? Which character did you play? The young man said politely, Shura. Shura. It's a shitty name, and half of the characters in anime are female. A dog's head emerged from the young man's hat. It was white and purebred. Obviously, this is also part of Cos. The photographer began to think about which Shura had a dog. While he was thinking, the young man found a direction and stepped forward. The photographer became anxious and chased after him. AV, today is Thursday, let's go to KFC to chat, I have an exhibition, you will be popular. Don't leave. The photographer only felt that the young man's figure disappeared in front of his eyes, as if he had never appeared before. Only a confused bald photographer was left in place, muttering to himself. What the hell? Today is actually a crazy Thursday. Yabai ate the root of the wing clean and threw the bones on the ground. Baigo sat opposite him, torturing Yabai with his eyes. The man and the dog looked at each other for a moment, and then the white dog said, Don't litter. Sorry, it's my first time raising a dog, so I'm not very used to it. As he spoke, Yabai bent down to pick up the bone and stuffed it directly into the white dog's mouth. In my memory, fried chicken is very delicious. After hesitating for a moment, Yabai added, It's also very expensive. Listening to Yabai's memories, Baigaoba chirped twice, not knowing what to say. It was about to swallow the chicken bones when Yabai suddenly held down its head. Wait a minute, I remembered, Dogs can't seem to eat chicken bones. White dog. I'm sure of one thing, I may not be a dog, and you really aren't a human. White dog doesn't understand. It is a majestic SSS level talent. Its frontal combat power can crush most 9th level war gods, and it can destroy the existence of a planet when it goes crazy. Actually, I am afraid of a chicken bone. Unfortunately, it couldn't defeat Yebai. After obediently spitting out the chicken bones, Baigo looked at Yebai with resentful eyes. Following other owners, others eat meat, but the dog can also chew bones. Following Shura, even the broken bones may fly away. After simply eating a few hundred yuan worth of fried chicken, Yebai stood up and held the non-existent dog leash. Walk. The white dog asked dissatisfiedly, where to go? Look for traces of my existence. The swordsman in white with a long sword on his waist walked out of the hotel, leading a white dog. A little girl pointed at the backs of the two people and said, "Mom, that dog can talk." "How can it be?" Of course the woman didn't believe it. How could a dog talk? The little girl insisted that she had just heard it, but the woman explained that she might have been on the phone or having a voice chat or something. The argument between the two was overheard by White Dog. It stopped and looked back at the mother and daughter. The mother and daughter stopped arguing and looked at the seemingly spiritual dog. Under the little girl's expectant gaze, Baigo spoke. Baigo took Yebai to the foot of a mountain. In front of this grave, there is a bouquet of white flowers and a piece of fried chicken. Baigo lit a cigarette for himself, but before he could smoke it, Yebai snatched it away and threw it to the ground and crushed it. He didn't do this. Written on it are a few lines of simple text and numbers. Yebai. Yebai's eyes moved up slightly and he saw clearly the content on the tombstone. Soon. Yebai walked straight to the depths of the cemetery, stopped after reaching a certain row, and walked a few steps sideways until he found a grave. For the rest of the trip, no one or the dog spoke, and they climbed the mountain in silence. "Are you sure you're looking for the right place?" "Also cannot. Underage dogs cannot smoke." Looking at the short mountain in front of him, Yebai fell into silence. Yebai's tomb. After leaving the fried chicken restaurant, Yebai held the dog while the dog pretended to be sniffing something. "I am sure." Unknown date of birth -November 3, 2021. If Yebai wanted to, he could search the entire mountain in an instant and easily find traces related to himself. They came to a cemetery. There is a road going up the mountain, and there are vendors on the roadside selling some common things. Now I'm sure you are a real dog. It's not that he likes smoking, he just thinks it looks cool. Soon. White dog. Yebai frowned and asked. From time to time, cars would stop, buy some items, and then continue up the mountain. Little girl. Yebai climbed the mountain on foot like an ordinary pedestrian. White dog, woof woof. The water in the vase was very clear, someone had obviously just changed it, and the fried chicken was still steaming a little. Cemetery. What about adulthood? It's not like it's his first time here, it's like he's been here many times. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Online games, only I can see hidden information. Author, Minjai Old Thief. Chapter 843. Yebai couldn't think of it. I came back by myself and found my own tomb. Translation, what is a special surprise? Baigo didn't expect that things would develop so dramatically. It was confused for a moment. Brother, what should we do next? Yebai rolled his eyes and said in disgust. Don't call me brother, I'm not as embarrassing a brother as you. After speaking, Yebai thought about this issue seriously. Don't panic when something happens, eat something first. So Yebai sat down, skillfully picked up the fried chicken in front of the grave, and started eating. White dog. What is this? Do I eat my tribute? Before Baigo could say anything, an old man slowly walked over. When the old man saw what Yebai had done, he said angrily. What's wrong with young people? Come here to steal food. Yebai corrected the other party very rigorously. This thing was originally meant for me to eat. Still quibbling, today's young people are really. The old man was trembling with anger and was ready to educate Yebai. Suddenly, his body stiffened. When the old man got closer, he could naturally see the tombstone clearly. At the top of the tombstone is a photo. The young man in the photo looks very similar to the one in front of me at first glance. The old man was trembling. You. Yebai said seriously, I'm hungry, come up here to find something to eat. The old man rolled his eyes and fell back straight. Of course Yebai would not let him fall to the ground. A soft breeze dragged the old man, and a green light lit up on him. In the blink of an eye, he woke up. Yebai is a mage after all, and he knows some healing techniques. Is it reasonable? The old man woke up and was in shock. Yebai spoke first and said. I'm his twin brother. My name is Yehei. I'm passing by to see my brother. I was scared to death. I thought I had seen a ghost. Young man, can this be a joke? The old man gave Yebai a lesson, looked at the tombstone, and sighed. You haven't come to see your brother all these years. Although the tone was harsh, it was not too accusatory. He just wanted Yehei to come and see this young man more. After all, it would be a pity to leave at this age. I never found my way home before. Yebai said with a smile. I also just found out that Yebai is dead. With that said, Yebai picked up a piece of fried chicken and asked politely. Would you like some? Although it has been sitting for a while and the skin has softened, the meat is still hot. Go. Make fun of me, right? The old man sighed again. He was responsible for looking after the cemetery. When Yebai walked into the cemetery, he felt something was not right, so he followed him. Unexpectedly, this was the case. After finishing his polite remarks, Yebai asked further. Yebai and I have been separated for a while, and I don't know how he. I don't know either. The old man said truthfully. I only care about the tomb here. How do people leave? There are so many people, how do I know? I took the liberty. Yebai turned to ask. Excuse me, who put these things? Yebai believed that the old man must have an impression of this matter. You are talking about this, he is a middle-aged man, the massage master, very talkative, he even massaged me twice, and he didn't even have to pay for it. The old man realized that the topic had gone too far, so he quickly turned back and said. He brings his family to see your brother every year. The whole family drives here. Family. Yebai frowned. He was very sure that the middle-aged man who came to visit his grave was not related by blood to him. Then why did the other party come? Will Yebai's favorite fried chicken be placed in front of the tomb? After talking to the old man for a few more words, he left. The old man felt a little strange why he was walking in the wind, and his body felt a lot more relaxed. Yebai casually used a healing technique to help him cure most of his body's diseases. He is healthier today than he was when he was 30. Brother, what should we do next? When the old man walked away, Baigo asked. Go to the middle-aged man who sweeps your grave. No. Yebai sat there, finished his portion of fried chicken, and gave some to Baigo. Taking the vase away, Yebai looked at his tombstone. Smash the tomb. Ah. White dog. Brother, that's not the case. Not really. You don't think it's unlucky for me to have my tomb here while I'm still alive? What Yebai said made sense, and Baigo didn't know how to refute it for a moment. Then smash it? Baigo rolled up his sleeves symbolically and prepared to smash Ye Bai's tomb to pieces, which could be regarded as venting his anger. Ye Bai rolled his eyes and slashed out with sword energy. The tomb is open. There is no need to put any lights or make any preparations for tomb robbing. Because Ye Bai was in a cemetery, what was placed was not a coffin, but an urn. Looking at the open tomb, Ye Bai's eyes were cold. As expected. The tomb is empty. Hiss. Baigo took a breath and said subconsciously. Brother, your ashes have been stolen. Your ashes were stolen. Ye Bai knocked the white dog and said helplessly. I'm living well, but this tomb is weird to begin with. A very possible situation is that I did not die and traveled through the past with my body, but many people in this world thought that I was dead. No matter where Ye Bai goes, there is no need to worry or be afraid. Therefore, Baiju must be here too. Baigo suddenly realized that this method seemed familiar to him. The only one who has the ability to do this is Xiaoyao. Because Baiju can keep up. Before Baigo could react, Ye Bai saluted forward. Ye Bai kicked the white dog aside. Give everyone the illusion? Carefree. Baigo asked tentatively. Ye Bai had studied before and found that his soul and body were in perfect harmony. The white colt can keep up, his sword can keep up. The passage formed by the petrified butterflies was only to attract Ye Bai. If he wanted to squeeze into the passage at that moment, only the fastest Baiju in the world could do it. Brother Bai. The matter involved the most powerful person of the human race, and it became complicated again in an instant. Baigo was a little embarrassed. Look at you, you're out of town. From now on, you call me brother, and I call you brother, and we can do our own thing. Baiju nodded slightly, which was very helpful. The answer emerged in the hearts of Ye Bai and Baigo at the same time. Brother, let's study it first. What have you done here? Because he wants to go back. Space begins to distort. In fact, Nightmare is also very good at doing this, but Nightmare died 100 years ago, so it is difficult to do this. A white colt appeared in front of Ye Bai. There's an easier way. Ye Bai didn't say a word. Baiju was a little curious. How did you know I was following you? The second brother wanted to see him and said those words. His ultimate intention was to remind Ye Bai in a subtle way. This means that he is not soul-pierced, but clothed. Wherever the traceless sword energy reaches, the strongest human beings are invincible. What? There is a powerful human being who is particularly good at doing this kind of thing. Because you have the ability to follow. Ye Bai's answer is simple. Looking at the empty tomb, Ye Bai looked indifferent. No. Online games, only I can see hidden information. Author, Minjai Old Thief. Chapter 844. Baiju appeared in front of Ye Bai, naturally not to praise each other. Baigo was a little confused and didn't understand what Ye Bai wanted to do. Brother, let's go back now. Are you about to leave just now? Come here to eat fried chicken for a few $100, pay a visit to your own grave, and then rush back. Is the itinerary a bit too hasty? Going back is going back, but not now. Ye Bai looked at Baiju and asked seriously. Can you take me back to the past? The past of this world, the time on the tombstone. Baiju looked at Ye Bai coldly. Are you questioning me? No matter which world it is in, it is a fragment of eternal origin, an SSS level talent. Traveling through the long river of time is as simple as eating and drinking for Baiju. That's not true. Ye Bai lowered his head and kicked the white dog, and explained. This guy is so arrogant. It often affects my confidence in SSS level talents. Baigo couldn't bear it anymore and decided to do something to prove himself. It bit Ye Bai's trouser leg. I couldn't even bite a hole in my clothes. Baiju nodded slightly and accepted Ye Bai's explanation. It is indeed a shame for an SSS level talent to have such a shameful guy. Baiju stood there, closed his eyes, and made no movement. When he opened his eyes again, a line of blood and tears flowed down his face. Baiju said coldly with no expression on his face. I found the coordinates, you will be interested. The white dog squatting at Ye Bai's feet asked cautiously. Brother, don't you feel pain? Baiju didn't even bother to look at it. SSS level talents are different from SSS level talents. Ye Bai cupped his hands and saluted, excuse me. Baiju didn't say anything. It raised its hind hooves and kicked a little. The figures of Ye Bai and Bai Go disappeared from the place and entered the long river of time. After sending Ye Bai and Bai Go away, Baiju was silent for a few seconds, jumped up more than 30 meters on the spot, covered his eyes, and let out a wailing sound like a slaughtering pig. It hurts me to death. Earth. November 3, 2021. A certain hospital. Intensive care unit. Ye Bai and Bai Go appeared in the corner of the ward. Bai Go recognized at a glance that the boy lying on the hospital bed was Ye Bai. Before it could exclaim, it closed its mouth. An invisible pressure made him shut up. Not only that, the entire space began to shake, as if it might collapse at any time. Faced with this pressure, White Dog is on the verge of losing control. A hand was placed on the white dog's head, taking a lot of pressure off it and allowing it to relax. Ye Bai looked at the familiar figure in front of him and remained silent. A Taoist priest appeared in the ward. Carefree. He walked to the ward and looked at the boy on the bed. The boy's life was in critical condition, his multiple organs were failing, and there was no possibility of resuscitation. After the Taoist appeared, the young man felt better for no reason and was even able to speak. Who are you? The young man looked at the Taoist and asked curiously. From the Hospice Care Association. He had heard others say that there would be this process. The Taoist shook his head, no. The boy twitched the corners of his mouth and smiled, I'm going to die, right? The Taoist nodded, yes. Listening to the conversation between the two, Ye Bai and Bai Go showed helpless expressions at the same time. After confirming the tone, it is truly carefree. You can say one word, but you can never say two words. Rigorous, honest, and reticent. The young man smiled again, you might as well lie to me. He is a humorous person, and everyone who knows the boy describes him that way. You don't have to die. The Taoist said seriously. At least I won't die now. Oh. The young man became a little interested and asked. Immortal, are there any latest experiments, like superheroes, gaining superpowers, and saving the world? The Taoist tried to understand the meaning of the boy's words. Failure to understand. The Taoist repeated the last round. It's about saving the world. The boy became more interested. He did not expect that the Hospice Care Association would invite a Taoist priest. He didn't even expect that the Taoist priest would talk nonsense with him in a serious manner. He even took the initiative to ask. What do you need from me to save the world? Shoot purple sweet potatoes. No. The Taoist thought for a while and said seriously. Stay alive. Obviously, the Taoist has only one request for how the young man can save the world, to survive. Can you save the world by surviving? The young man felt that the painting style was already a bit strange. This is too simple. I really want to live, live. The starlight in the young man's eyes was a little dim. The rigorous Taoist asked again. So, are you willing to save the world? The young man smiled, what kind of problem is this? Saving the world at the cost of living? Of course I am willing. The Taoist corrected him. Not this world. The young man shook his head, he didn't care. Any world is fine. After confirming with the boy again, the Taoist got the answer he wanted. He is ready to go. Etc. The young man felt that the conversation just now was ridiculous. Even so, he was still willing to pretend to be real and say something to the other person in the last period of his life. Why me? The Taoist replied seriously. You have the highest score on the most interesting 18-year-old questionnaire. The young man smiled and said helplessly. I was the only one who took that crappy questionnaire. Who would be bored enough to answer such a questionnaire, except for people who are critically ill? The young man remembered clearly that it took him 120 minutes to answer the questionnaire. Most people simply don't have the patience. He had already finished what he wanted to ask, and there was no problem with the young man's answer. What is the name of the questionnaire designer? From Xiaoyao's point of view, everything is logical. The boy didn't take it seriously, just thinking it was someone's prank. How could something that only happened in novels happen to me so easily? The young man smiled sadly and expressed his last thoughts. He has never been very talkative. The Taoist said strictly. The boy told another cold joke. At least at this point in time, he doesn't bother to do it. Ahem. If the eyes are no longer needed, they can be donated to those in need. Wait a moment. After answering the question, the Taoist turned around and left again. He may be wrong in telling fortunes, and he has never bothered to do such boring things as lying to others. The doctor said multiple organ failure. Actually, I don't understand these words very well. I think I'm going to die soon. What you just said is very interesting. It would be better if you didn't lie to me. Another world, 18 years old, interesting, life-saving. Obviously, the young man still didn't believe the Taoist in front of him. Zhang Xiaoyao. I don't lie. The Taoist frowned slightly and corrected him strictly. The Taoist stood quietly, waiting for the next words. You have the highest score. He did this because, at the beginning of the questionnaire, it was prompted that if the score was the highest, he would be rewarded with a chance to travel through time. The teenager meets all the criteria. The young man coughed twice. The Taoist stopped and asked. The young man on the hospital bed nodded slightly. Given his physical condition, even doing this action was a bit difficult. Even if only one person answers the question, he or she will still get the highest score. Anything else? Xiaoyao was very cold, neither smiling nor speaking. Ah, yes, monks don't lie. Oh, I forgot, you are a Taoist priest, ahem. The young man felt that the world in front of him was a little blurry, so he braced himself and shouted. What an earthy name. Online games, only I can see hidden information. Author, Minjai Old Thief. Chapter 845. Since the young man said the last words, the Taoist left after listening. Ye Bai moved his hand away from the dog's head. White Dog was lost in thought. Is this the cause and effect of Ye Bai's awakening of the eye of insight? I always feel like I've seen something extraordinary. After a moment of silence, Bai Go felt that he needed to say something. Brother, what are you thinking about? I'm thinking. Ye Bai said. I should have donated my kidney. White Dog. It originally planned to comfort Ye Bai with a few words, but now it felt it was no longer necessary. The white dog rolled his eyes and yelled. Didn't you hear? You yourself said that your organs are failing. It's useless even if I think about it. Hey hey. Ye Bai grinned. I was just thinking, if an SSS level waste is awakened. The style of painting gradually became distorted. The originally solemn atmosphere was broken up by this cold joke. The boy on the bed gradually stopped breathing. Alarm. Rescue. Announcing rescue failure. Donate cornea and organs according to last wish. People in the ward were coming and going. They seemed to be busy on Ye Bai's body, but in fact, there was only air there. The white dog was a little surprised. Brother, you're not dead. Nonsense. Ye Bai rolled his eyes and said angrily. I am alive and well. Even if the most powerful demon dies, I will not die. Now, it is very clear what happened back then. The crisis of the most powerful demon is brewing, and the upper world may be destroyed. Therefore, the upper world decided to save itself. The first thing to die is the origin of the upper world. That's right, just like the strongest demon god, there is no ink on either side of the game. At the beginning, the king bombs with 4 twos. There is no routine for defeating monsters and upgrading. The two sides are directly in the peak boss showdown. At the moment when the Eternal Tower was built, the most powerful demon god was born, and the origin of the upper world descended. With the Eternal Tower as the cornerstone, the origin of the upper world completed the seal of the most powerful demon. The seal can only delay time, but cannot kill the most powerful demon. As a result, the origin of the upper world began a new round of planning killing gods. Kill that powerful demon. He found a way for the tower spirit to peel off the fragments of the eternal origin, and at the same time created the supreme mark so that the human race among the 10 eternal races could accommodate SSS level talents. 9 generations, as long as the strongest human race fights to the death with the strongest demon for 9 consecutive generations, the strongest demon can be killed. In this process, the origin of the world in the upper world also encountered trouble. The most powerful demon god's attack on him was not worth mentioning, but it brought an unexpected side effect. Xiaoao was born. After Xiaoao was born, I started thinking about a question: who am I? Is it Dai Meng Xiaoao, or Xiaoao Mendi? Xiaoao's thinking occupies a large amount of resources in the upper world. Originally, these resources should be used to deal with the most powerful demon. The CPU usage of this personality is too high. Of course, the emergence of Xiaoao is not accidental, it is even inevitable. It takes at least 9 consecutive generations of the most powerful humans to defeat the most powerful demon. This is the minimum requirement. For the origin of the upper world, if you can end things yourself and do it yourself, don't place your hopes on others. Therefore, the origin of the upper world has not obliterated Xiaoao, and needs the other party to stand up for the human race at the most appropriate time. This is part of the plan. However, his plans never went smoothly. The origin of the upper world never expected that Xiaoao would break free from his control and split the two sides into 2. Those who are free will return to Xiaoao, and those who are in the upper realm will return to the upper realm. Xiaoao's escape from control is by no means good news for the origin of the upper world. If Xiaoao refuses to start a war with the most powerful demon, the origin of the upper world will shoot itself in the foot. However, Xiaoao chose another path. This is Xiaoao's choice and has nothing to do with the upper world. The sequence of events before Ye Bai's eyes had never been so clear. He seemed to be repeating his own thoughts and said slowly. That is to say, in the original expectation, the Eternal Tower was only open to the most powerful seeds. If the most powerful seeds fell, a new round of powerful seeds would immediately begin to be searched for. The most powerful marks would be passed on to the next person, and the process would continue. Cultivate the strongest human race. From the perspective of the origin of the upper world, what happens to the human race is not a question that needs to be considered at all. He only cares about the strongest human race. He just wants the most powerful demon to die. Therefore, the original intention of the Eternal Tower is to continuously cultivate the strongest human beings in batches. The previous most powerful person had just died in battle, and he immediately began to cultivate new most powerful seeds. Under the great pressure to survive, the most powerful human race could not ascend at all. Forced by the situation, they could only choose to fight against the most powerful demon god. Even if a small number of people choose to ascend, the upper world can immediately cultivate new powerful seeds. An unexpected factor broke this seemingly perfect plan. Nightmare. After Nightmare entered the Eternal Tower, he transformed the Eternal Tower and opened it to all humans. That's right. Pass everything the Taoist knows to Yabai in the safest way. In other words, the Eternal Tower, which was supposed to mass-produce the strongest human beings, has become a development paradise for the human race. The strongest human race can also protect the next generation, giving the other party more space to grow and make the choice of the other party more comfortable. You have to walk your own way from now on. Come to another world again, find me, and let me become the fourth generation of the most powerful seed in order to complete the plan to kill the most powerful demon. All of this was the choice of that man 100 years ago. Yabai was just repeating. For Nightmare, achieving this level is a miracle. Therefore, Nightmare changed the SSS level talent that was supposed to have unlimited refills to be released every 33 years or so. This power is so clever that it is only triggered when Yabai appears. Among the four most powerful people in the human race, Wilhelm's rise is the most unexpected. The death of the most powerful demon god and the destruction of this world have been postponed as much as possible. There is only one reason that can explain Wilhelm's defiance of the heavens, the upper realm. After the nightmare, the origin of the upper world adjusted its strategy, and then there was Wilhelm, a fierce man descended from the sky. White Dog. Did you peek at some plot summary? Did you secretly make up lessons behind my back? What he said just now was all told to Yabai. Gather the sword power of one world and become invincible in one person. In this way, the human race has the capital to compete with the abyss. It wasn't until today that Yabai fully understood what Nightmare had done back then. The most important point, Nightmare may have gotten a glimpse of the truth of the matter through the conversation with Xiaoao and the information he collected. As a Taoist, Xiaoao has never been superstitious. Yabai nodded slowly and continued. After Wuhan passed, the origin of the upper world felt that the world was mature, so he personally left the world and became the third generation of the most powerful seeds. Brother, are you reading the script? This power is very weak, so weak that the source of the upper world cannot detect it, and it does not even know that Xiaoao has tampered with it here. Even if there is a hint of Xiaoao, even if there is the strongest seal of the strongest in hand. The shadow of the Taoist disappeared little by little, leaving only a few words beside Yabai's ear. The white dog couldn't see it. In front of Yabai, the shadow of a Taoist stood in the river of time. After hearing Yabai's repetition, the Taoist nodded slightly. Some people think this is the luck of the human race. And the birth speed of the strongest human race has been extended to the greatest extent. The resources that were supposed to be exclusive to the strongest of the human race were equally shared among the human race. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Online games, only I can see hidden information. Author, Minjai Old Thief. Chapter 846. Dependent origination and cessation, cause and effect cycle. After going round and round, I am back to the starting point. As the Taoist disappeared, Yabai remained silent and the whole space became quiet. Baigo felt that he needed to say something, but he didn't know what to say. In a sense, no matter what Yabai chooses, it will not affect the final result. This is why Xiaoao told Yabai before, you can choose. Taking a step back, Yabai could stay in the world below him. The grievances and grudges in the upper realm of this world will have nothing to do with him. The most powerful demon god will not take the initiative to provoke a human race's most powerful person. The source of the upper realm thinks that the key is that he doesn't have that ability. As for killing the most powerful demon, actually Yabai couldn't help much. There are Nightmare, Wuhan, and Xiaoao, even though these three people have never really gotten together. The three of them still continued a plan for hundreds of years. The most terrifying and rare thing about this plan is that taking Shura away will not affect the success of the plan. It's best to have Shura, but it won't have much impact without Shura. In other words, even if Yabai doesn't go back, he doesn't have to bear too much guilt. Because the banquet will be open regardless of his presence or absence. There must be an understanding of the grievances between the upper world and this world. Furthermore, Yabai can also choose to go back and assume the responsibility of being the strongest human race. I don't know how long the silence lasted, but Baigo asked timidly. Brother, we are going back, right? Just now, I don't know what happened. The connection between it and Yabai seemed to be separated by a ruthless force. Ever since Yabai awakened his SSS level talent, nothing like this has ever happened. It's a bit panicky. The problem is huge and there is no point in panicking. Go back. Yabai raised the corners of his mouth slightly and did not answer the question. Yabai walked in the long river of time, his figure became blurry and then became clear. In just one moment, he had seen the past 18 years of his life. Unfortunately, Yabai really started as an orphan. The protagonist's destiny belongs to Yes. He was abandoned outside an orphanage. Yabai's date of birth is unknown because no one really knows when he was born. Later, during a physical examination, with Yabai's consent, his DNA was uploaded to the database. Based on DNA matching, Yabai's biological parents were actually found. However, his biological parents are already dead, killed in a traffic accident. Bad news, now you are truly an orphan. The good news, my parents have huge accidental death insurance, and there are no other living relatives. Yabai became the first heir. Yabai received a sudden windfall, and at the same time the results of his physical examination came out. At a young age, he was diagnosed with an almost incurable cancer. With this money, Yabai was able to receive high-level treatment, but that was all. But for this kind of cancer, there is not much that human medical standards can do. In a twists and turns, fate played a huge joke on him. Yabai soon came to his end, at least that was how he felt at the time. Then, Yabai made a questionnaire. This questionnaire, which is as childish as a child's play, is marked at the beginning. The person with the highest score will get a chance to travel through time. No one took this questionnaire seriously, including Yabai. What Yabai didn't expect was that the creator of the questionnaire never lied. He really traveled through time. However, these memories have been temporarily sealed. When Yabai truly becomes the strongest, these dusty memories will be unlocked and the truth of the matter will be restored. Yabai didn't expect that he would be able to gain so much information when he came back this time. However, these are not important to him. Baigo has never felt that Yabai is so strange. Even Yabai's appearance began to become blurry in its field of vision. The word Shura also gradually disappeared. The hairs all over Baigo's body trembled as he thought of some possibility. Xiaoao, give the last part of the most powerful mark to Shura. At this time, Yabai was truly the strongest. Don't be embarrassed. Seemingly guessing what Baigo was thinking, Yabai patted its head. You haven't awakened for the 9th time yet. My combat power still has room for theoretical improvement. Just when Baigo wanted to say something, he spoke harshly. After leaving the long river of time and returning to reality, Yabai suddenly said a number. 6. The hair on the white dog's body exploded instantly. He changed from a Urha to a fried ball-shaped dog. Baiju, wearing sunglasses, was sitting on Yabai's grave, eating popcorn, and nodding. Awesome. Only Baigo knows what happened. It awakens for the 6th time. It's not over yet. 7. Yabai read out a number, and Baigo rolled his eyes and almost fainted. Awakening, for the fragments of eternal origin, is a process of unlocking the seal. Originally, the process was risk-free and painless. White Dog likes to wake up before. But, the current situation is a little different. White Dog is indeed awakening. But the more awakened it is, the more pressure it can feel from Yabai. For Yabai, it was even more terrifying. Staying next to Yabai has almost become a torture. But if you want to awaken, this kind of suffering is unavoidable. Yabai read out another number. 8. Boom. White dog exploded. It is like an inflated balloon that bursts open and flies around in the sky and on the ground. Its injuries were healed immediately and its pain was isolated. Even so, that moment of trepidation and the feeling of being dominated by fear left an indelible psychological shadow on White Dog. Jet White Dog finally returned to the ground, dying. Its physical body no longer suffers, and its mental wounds take time to heal. That's it? Yabai couldn't help it either. Yabai was able to forcefully awaken 9 times, but Baigo probably couldn't bear it. Crumbs. How disdainful. For white dogs, this process is inevitable. All SSS level talents must go through this once. Baiju gave his own evaluation. You are the loudest in the awakening of SSS level talents. A shameful thing. If possible, Baiju is willing to expel Baigo from his SSS level talent status immediately. The white dog stretched out its front paws and raised its middle finger. After 8 awakenings, for a white dog, he is almost at the peak of his life. If I had known it would be so painful to wake up, I would kill it and not wake it up. Of course I want to go back. Yabai answered Baigo's previous question. He gave a reason that Baigo couldn't refute. I still have a powerful demon that I haven't killed yet. Yabai twisted his neck and made a series of explosions, with an indifferent expression and a hint of murderous intent. The most powerful person in the human race has died once. It would be a bit rude for him not to die. Online games, only I can see hidden information. Author, Minjai Old Thief. Chapter 847. Go back, definitely have to go back. For Yabai, this world is just a journey. In a sense, the world has never been kind to Yabai. Starting as an orphan, his parents died, he became rich from heaven, he was terminally ill. If Yabai were a person like Shueju, he would indeed be kind to everyone around him. Unfortunately, Yabai is not. He is an ordinary person, a high school student who traveled to a different world. He inadvertently unlocked the salvation mission and completed it quite well. Yabai really didn't have much nostalgia or reluctance for this world. It's time to go back. Yabai trimmed his tomb, and after thinking about it, Yabai did not demolish the tomb. He said casually, "If I die one day, you can bury me back and it will be like a fallen leaf returning to its roots." Baiju snorted coldly and was too lazy to respond. Baigo rolled his eyes silently. "You are such a scourge, it's hard to die even if you want to." No matter what, Yabai did not demolish the tomb, but left it in this world. Yabai in this world is dead. The one who survived, was Yabai. Let's go home. As he spoke, a passage appeared in front of Yabai's eyes and he stepped into the void. For Yabai, who has not become the most powerful person, it is difficult to find the way to the earth without coordinates, and he can only rely on butterflies to guide him. Things are different now. Something Yabai couldn't do. What does it have to do with Shura, the strongest human race? Beiju and Begu followed Yabai and returned to Blue Star. In terms of the supervisor's feelings, only half a day has passed. By the time Yabai came back, 5 years had passed in Blue Star's time. Yabai knew very well that it only took him less than half a year to return. In other words, it took 4.5 years for the butterfly to lead Yabai away. He did it on purpose. For the origin of the upper world, the longer it takes, the better. The less time left for Yabai to think and prepare, the better it would be for the upper realm. However, Yabai no longer cares about such little tricks. Fortunately, I thought it would take more than 30 years. In fact, the strong side never needs to make calculations. When the origin of the upper world begins to make calculations, it means that the situation is already very dangerous. Now the situation has become clear. The enemies of the strongest humans are not only the strongest demons, but also the origin of the upper world. The former is the most powerful existence among the known existences in the world. The latter is the existence with the highest realm among the known existences in the world. The most powerful person in the human race doesn't take action easily, and when he does, he fights the ultimate boss. Except Shura. Yabai thought about it, and since he still had enough time, he could take the time to do some things. He first went back to the exclusive space and took away a pig and an object. Pig is a little golden pig. The object is the base of Shura Pagoda. When the little golden pig was taken away, Dracula hesitated and made no move. He knows it very well. Yabai has no evil intentions. Don't look at the demon lord peeling off his skin all day long, he looks extremely intimidating. In fact, what evil has the demon lord really done? Dracula is a vampire who survived from the previous era, or he climbed up step by step from the bottom. The darkness and blood he has seen are beyond the imagination of others. Shura is already kind-hearted. To a certain extent, Shura was also greatly influenced by the strongest men of previous generations. When Shura is growing up, if he has any evil intentions, it is easy for him to have more evil intentions. Yabai carried the little golden pig and appeared in the novice copy of the Eternal Tower. "What are you doing? My chicken wings haven't been cooked yet. Put me down." Putting the little golden pig on the ground, Yabai glanced at her. Little golden pig Lilith fell asleep. When she opened her eyes again, her eyes were extremely cold and without any warmth. "Shura?" Lilith asked. "What you up to?" The white dog on the side came forward and sniffed. "Two souls in one body? No. It's schizophrenia." Yabai had seen some clues before, but he never revealed it. The blood ancestor back then actually suffered from the same disease as the second master. A personality is the personality of a girl before being embraced for the first time. She is cowardly, timid, lazy and lazy. That is sister, Lilith. The other personality is the true blood ancestor, cold, decisive in killing, ruthless in tactics. Blood ancestor, Lilith. Dracula must have known about this. Cain might have guessed something, but because the bloodline suppression between the vampires was too terrifying, he couldn't spy on the blood ancestor's status. This is why Cain has been chasing Lilith. Even if he gives up everything, he will kill her to the end of the world. If the blood ancestor reappears, he will not lose even if he kills Cain. With the blood ancestor here, the vampire clan has nothing to worry about. If Lilith died like this, Cain would be even worse off. The blood ancestor is dead, he is the blood ancestor. Yabai gave Lilith two choices. Are you going to continue sleeping, or are you going to do something? Do what? Lilith sneered. The most critical moment has passed. The only thing I can do now is to find a way to escape to the upper world, where I can have a chance of survival. No. Yabai shook his head and said seriously. The upper world is not safe either. To be precise, the upper world is destined to be destroyed this time. Yabai has this confidence. Although, he doesn't know the entire plan. However, Yabai believed in his eldest brother, second brother, and third brother. That's, the returning blood river, slowly waking up. Are you still building a tower? Nightmares do more than that. You are professionals in this regard. Behind the little golden pig, a pair of bat wings appeared, flew twice, and finally crawled to the ground. Dracula held on for a few seconds, with sweat on his forehead, and knelt down on one knee, knowingly asking. If anyone else said this, Lilith would just think that the other person was talking nonsense. In my previous life, I built a tower, built the entire vampire clan into it, and created something like the most powerful demon god. No matter where they are, the vampires feel the beating of the river of blood at the same time. Build a tower? Being blindly confident is a yes. Lilith is almost suffering from PTSD. Cain, who was kneeling on the ground, raised his head slightly and showed a sinister sneer. Thinking of this, Lilith was a little upset and shouted dissatisfied. Yabai smiled lightly and said, "As you wish." She did not doubt the authenticity of Shura's words. At the same time, all the vampires knelt down for no reason. Just at the same time, Yabai said sincerely, "Fix it." If it was that man's wish, Lilith felt that the upper world was really dangerous. Is there danger in the upper realm too? You can help me build a tower. Lilith hates building towers. After hesitating for a moment, Lilith did not reject Yabai's proposal. Lilith's eyes were gloomy and she said nothing. Nightmare. She has come back. What happened? Even if it costs your life, you still want to kill the most powerful demon? But can't you believe in yourself? Then what else can I do besides sleep? Online games, only I can see hidden information. Author, Minjai Old Thief. Chapter 848. Yabai completely left the construction work of Shura Pagoda to Master Fool. With the assistance of the Blood Ancestor, the cooperation of the human race, the materials from the entire Snow Mountain, and many other sources of help, the progress of building the tower is much faster than expected. While Yabai was working as a hands-off shopkeeper, he was not idle either. After he returned to the Eternal Tower, the power of the most powerful demon god was gradually drawn away, and he quietly left. In front of the real strongest human being, there is no need to play such little tricks. However, the setting for breeding monsters was forcibly retained by Yabai. The strong men of the human race need some opponents to hone their skills. Now there is no opponent in the abyss. The Eternal Tower is the best place for leveling. The main thing is safety. In addition, Yabai easily cleared the Eternal Tower. For all human beings, this matter is very simple. Yabai is especially easy to make. After visiting the nursing home with the 8-time awakened white dog, Yabai left Blue Star. He was going to explore between galaxies and see what was going on in other places. Soon, Yabai discovered a surprising fact. This world is dead. Except for Blue Star, there are no living creatures in any star field. Yabai searched every corner but couldn't find any living creature. No matter how suitable the conditions are, no living thing can survive. This also verified the conjecture of the strongest human race: this world has a strong tendency to self-destruct. He wanted to destroy himself and perish with the upper world. The most powerful demon god is his method. And Blue Star is the last hope, the last paradise. This is also why the Eternal Tower will come to Blue Star. Because this world no longer breeds any living beings, it is completely silent. Apart from Blue Star, apart from the last group of humans, the strongest demon god has no choice. If you think about it at a deeper level, the deathly silence of other star fields should also be related to the upper world to some extent. Even secretly, Yabai could feel a disaster brewing. The catastrophe of world destruction. This kind of disaster is very abnormal. Yabai could clearly sense that something was wrong with the catastrophe of annihilation in this world. If it were just this world, there shouldn't be such a powerful world-destroying disaster. Then contact the upper world and there has never been a catastrophe of annihilation. In other words, the calamity that the upper realm should have endured was borne by this realm. No wonder this world goes crazy, brings out the most powerful demon god, and drags the upper world to death with him. Faced with this dilemma, Yabai didn't think too much. Because there is no need for him to think. Yabai just had to do his part, and he chose to believe it. The nightmare planted the seeds of hope back then, and now they have grown vigorously and become a big tree in the sky. Without nightmares, everything would be different. After feeling the disaster brewing, Yabai immediately began to look for the person who would be responsible for the disaster. Half a minute later, it was found. Bai couldn't help but laugh. Why is it you? Zhao Qian was also helpless. I want to ask too. He could feel that he had been chosen as the person to be robbed, but it was difficult to understand. There is a reason. Sun Li looked at Zhao Qian with sympathetic eyes and said helplessly. The first half of a person's life will be smooth, very smooth. Zhao Qian. Because his life was so smooth, he simply asked Sun Li to be his handler brother. Even bad luck at Sun Li's level could not affect Zhao Qian. Only today did Zhao Qian know the reason. He is also a person who deserves disaster. Fine. Bai was very calm. Nonsense, it's not you who is in trouble, of course you are calm. As a being from another world, it is impossible for Bai to become a person in this world. First resign from the Wanwu Pavilion and resign yourself. Don't take the termination fee. Zhao Qian. He is still the same boy as before, nothing has changed. After asking Zhao Qian to cut off contact with the human race as much as possible, Bai simply found a way to directly let Zhao Qian ascend on the spot. When leaving, Bai looked at Zhao Qian from a distance and warned. Go to the upper world and study hard. It's better not to stay in the human race for such an unlucky existence. Zhao Qian supported Bai's choice with both hands. Sun Li had a question, why don't you send me away with you? In this regard, Bai gave a very sincere answer. I'm afraid that my second brother will chop me to death. Time flies, and the years fly by. Grass grows in the eternal forest. Zhao Ziyan, who was stunned by the sword at that time, had an epiphany one day, broke through the confusion, and penetrated into the sky with the sword. Then, Zhao Ziyan discovered, Tong Tian, what a fart. Shura has become the most powerful. She challenged Shura once and was completely defeated. Afterwards, Zhao Ziyan was depressed and drank all night with his old friend Shij and cursed Shura all night. Death song, ah, yes, yes. The eternal forest no longer needs shadows to guard it. Except for the occasional memorial service, people rarely come to this forest. The grass reaches knee-high, and small animals gradually appear. And in the eternal forest, a black coffin emerged from the ground little by little. In the blink of an eye, 36 years have passed since Xiaoao, the most powerful human race, entered the abyss of power. The human race spent another 36 years in peace. On this day, the peace was broken. One hand stretched out the black coffin. As we prepare to finish today, the old thief from the underworld will tell you a few words in advance so that everyone can have a clear idea. Friends who are familiar with the old thief should know that when the old thief writes a book, he never saves the manuscript. Save the manuscript? Non-existent. Not a single word has been touched in the new book so far, so it will probably be scrapped. Well, even though it will be finished today, this one has just been coded. There are probably more than 15,000 plots left before the end. In other words, the old thief has to type so many words today. Do you believe in gravity? I admire the person who was the first to break the news, maybe he will be thrown into the street. Stringing together lines. Do you believe in the old thief who broke the news? Okay, now go take a nap, wake up and code, and add more to everyone's entertainment before the end. Old thief, I was very fierce back then. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Online games, only I can see hidden information. Author, Minjai Old Thief. Chapter 849. One hand was on the edge of the black coffin. A young man with a pale face slowly sat up, looking quite confused. Kill, kill dash. His ears seemed to hear the endless sounds of fighting on the battlefield, the roar of the wind, and the roar of thunder. The young man's eyes were filled with fog. Deep in the mist, there was an extremely vicious whisper. I died so miserably. Along with the whisper, a scene appeared in the young man's pupils. Huo Tianwang, whose arms were broken inch by inch, had a big hole in his chest, and his vitality was disappearing little by little. The young man's eyes were wide open and bloodshot, and he was about to rush out of the black coffin. Unfortunately, he can't do it. He just woke up and couldn't leave this black coffin. Even though he had just been resurrected and had the fighting power of a 9th-level god of war, he still couldn't break free from the shackles of the black coffin. The phantom of King Huotian gradually disappeared. When he was dying, he was still chattering and seemed to still have a bad mouth. Soon, new images appeared in the fog. A blue-robed swordsman held a broken sword, stabbed a demon god, and fell into the endless abyss with him. A series of explosions came from the depths of the abyss. The young man clenched his hands into fists, veins popped out, and wanted to say something, but no sound came out. After a while, the bloody swordsman crawled out from the bottom of the abyss. Without giving him any time to rest, several demon gods pressed forward again. The young man's chest rose and fell violently, and he was so stunned. The scene in front of me dissipated little by little. I can't do anything, I can't make any sound, I can't even leave this black coffin. Then, the young man saw fragments of many scenes. His young apprentice became the god of war, fighting to the death, and eventually died at the hands of the great demon. Xuemeng, Xueju's biological son, died of exhaustion in the abyss of power while carrying a sledgehammer. His grandson Thief Shuro was successfully attacked by the most powerful demon god, and he was thrown into thin air on the spot. The young man shed 2 tears of blood, but he was still powerless. He can't do anything. Finally, a snow mountain appeared in front of the young man's eyes. That familiar snow mountain, the one that was moved back from the upper world, was also the place where Nightmare died in battle. This is the real Nightmare. The Nightmare died in front of him again. When this scene happened again, the young man completely lost his defense. He finally roared, "I'll fuck your mother." Boom. He rushed out of the black coffin, like a crazy monster, attacking everything around him. Boom. A heavy punch came, and the angry young man fought fist to fist, head on, without any concessions. Rumble. When the 2 fists collided, thunder exploded. The young man's right arm was unable to hang on his body, and the person who punched was no better. He flew backwards and heard a muffled grunt. Sonorous. A sword energy came towards him, and the young man did not dodge. With the sword in his left hand, he slashed with his backhand. The swords collided and countless sparks flew out. One sword comes, 10,000 swords come. One knife breaks, one knife breaks. Striking in front of his eyes, the young man swung out thousands of swords and defeated all the sword energy. He didn't look at the front of the mist, but looked up sharply. A sledgehammer fell from the sky. The young man retracted his left hand, took a deep breath, and punched upwards, hitting the sledgehammer. After a few seconds of stalemate, the sledgehammer flew backwards. The fog has become lighter. From the depths of the mist, a dog walked out. Baigo just glanced at the young man. The young man, who was covered in blood, felt that his eyelids were dark. No matter how hard he struggled, he could not get rid of the sleepiness. Thump. He fell to the ground and passed out. The fog cleared. A group of people slowly gathered around. Huo Tianwang's right fist was dripping with blood, and even the bone stubble was exposed from the deepest part of the wound. He nodded slowly and said casually, "Not bad, you can take over my 2 powers." Lan Bangxian echoed. "Indeed, there is no difference between victory and defeat if you share your sword energy with me." Xuemeng stood aside, a little helpless, not knowing what to say. He asked tentatively, Are you really fighting?" He thought it was just a joke and his talent was useless. If you really want to quantify it, it would be about 1/10,000th of the strength. The two centenarians glanced at Xuemeng and said in unison. Roll. Of course they would not miss the opportunity to beat Yingju. What's more, Yingju had just been resurrected and his strength was at a low ebb. After passing this village, there is no such shop. Behind the white dog, a young man appeared. The moment he appeared, everyone felt an extremely heavy pressure on their shoulders. This is the feeling of facing the strongest human race. Nightmare, Wuhan, Xiaoyao, are all like this. The same is true for Shura. However, other powerful people will, more or less, subconsciously suppress these feelings of oppression. Xuemeng suspected that with Ye Bai's character, not only would he not shrink back, but he would even take the initiative to strengthen it. There is no way, he knows Shura too well. Ye Bai looked at everyone. You're all here, have you eaten? Today is a great day for Yingju's resurrection. It was the same with him back then. Isn't this cheating to draw cards? After a while, the humans who broke through the barrier in the Eternal Tower heard a long-lost and familiar announcement. After saying that, Ye Bai's figure faded away from the place, leaving only a projection of power. Shadow 9. Just now, everyone was trying to stop Yingju from going on a rampage, but looking at the looks of King Huo Tianwang and Lan Bangxian, they seemed to want to avenge themselves. Congratulations to the player Shadow Demon for passing the SSS level evaluation of the novice copy. How many soul palaces can there be in one mouthful? Ye Bai, who was watching all this, couldn't help but sigh. Then, Yingju didn't waste any time and headed straight for the Eternal Tower. Ye Bai turned into an old man, leaning on a cane and stroking his beard and said, I know. Are you crazy? After Ye Bai and Bai Go disappeared, the young man's face finally regained some color. A ray of golden light flew out from the 100th floor of the Eternal Tower. For the first time, he discovered how annoying it was for an old man to be paired with Jijija. He slowly opened his eyes and looked at the familiar people in front of him, a trace of doubt flashing deep in his eyes. After getting Ye Bai's permission, the golden light entered Yingju's body. However, he would never take the initiative to ask questions as he has always been a tough talker. The old man on crutches in front of him grinned. Looking at the bloodless young man on the ground, Ye Bai shook his head. Shura set up 2 tables at the entrance of the village and started the banquet directly. No matter what you draw, if the strongest human race wants you to draw SSS level talents, then you will definitely get it. Xiaju, I gave you a chance but you didn't use it. The fusion of talents only happens in an instant. Okay, don't delay the business. The disaster of destroying the world will come in only 1 year. Awakening talent. Without any hesitation, he directly put his palm on it. In front of the truly powerful person, Yingju couldn't even stay awake. It's all personal vendetta. Ye Bai waved his hand, and an eternal core crystal appeared in front of Yingju. In order for you to be resurrected, you must be stimulated by strong emotions. After the stimulation, although you can survive, you will also fall into a period of rage. SSS level talent. Yingju, who was in severe pain all over his body, snorted coldly and said in an old-fashioned manner. Xiaju, I advise you not to be too arrogant, GGG. Online games, only I can see hidden information. Author, Minjio Old Thief. Chapter 850. Eternal Tower, 1st floor. A young man breaks into it and starts his own journey. This isn't his first time here. Following Xueju before, Yingju had walked through these roads once. Standing outside the wind and thunder valley, feeling the breeze blowing on his face, Yingju took a deep breath of air. It's about to begin. 3 minutes. He successfully cleared the first level, SSS level. There is only one copy of Eternal Blessing, in the hands of Shura. Yingju didn't care about this. He just wanted to improve his strength as soon as possible and reach the state of quasi-power as soon as possible. For him, after experiencing the scenery at the highest point, these things in front of him are just floating clouds. Breaking through a level overnight is a bit difficult for ordinary people. But in front of the most powerful seeds of the human race? That's it? That's it? Back then, Xiaoao could become the strongest overnight, and Xiaoao's master Yingju. There seems to be no way to break this record. Yingju gathered his mood and continued to set off. Many restrictions on others are ineffective in front of the strongest seeds. In particular, the Eternal Tower has experienced the ravages of change over the years. When Shuro was building his own tower, he also took a lot of materials from the Eternal Tower. When it comes to shedding wool, you can always trust Shura. Yingju rushed to the 20th floor in one breath. He felt he could use a break. Eternal Core Crystal. Yingju has never used this thing before. Xueju used to use it. He called several times in succession, but failed to call out the Eternal Core Crystal. Yingju realized that something was not quite right. Soon, Yingju gave up trying. He thought of some possibility. Grass. I was tricked by thief son. You can just climb the tower slowly inside. Yabai looked at the Eternal Tower, yawned, turned and left. Behind him, followed the top group of human race's combat forces. Huo Tianwang, Lan Bangxian, Xuemeng, Ying Ai, Yingsun, Master Fool. When I go to the abyss of power, the decisive battle will begin. Yabai said casually. This fight will last for a long time. He was going to do his own thing and keep his appointments. When my battle with the most powerful demon is over, Yingju will almost be able to come out of seclusion. Yabai turned around and glanced at everyone. The catastrophe of the world is coming, and there is no time. When Yingju wakes up, there is less than a year left before the catastrophe of the world. In this year, if the human race can't find a way to kill the most powerful demon, everything will be ruined. In other words, Yabai is going to fight the most powerful demon for a year? Yabai ordered. Xuemeng, you, go pick up your second father. Yabai already knew about Wuhan's return to the upper realm. Ah! Xuemeng was a little confused. Didn't you say that my father is happy? Xueju is about to be resurrected, which is an almost open secret among the top leaders of the human race. Xuemeng didn't understand. If he didn't go to pick up his own father, why would he go to pick up his second father? Go if you are told. My second brother told me to go. If you have anything to do, go to him. Yabai sent Xuemeng away and repeatedly warned. I will never accept you as my adopted son. Xuemeng. I didn't say I recognized it either. If there is such a shameful adoptive father, the overall value of the adoptive father will be reduced. After sending Xuemeng away, Yabai looked at the two men with bad mouths and wanted to be strong. According to third brother's arrangement back then, Xueju may be resurrected at any time after Yingju's resurrection. There is no way to get close to the sarcophagus unless you reach the realm of heaven. This was the reason for Xuemeng to leave. Xuemeng was too strong and his level was too low, so he was unable to break through. Lan Bangxian cut off all his talents and rebuilt his life, and he has returned to Tongtian. King Huo Tianwang was turned away because the threshold was too high. It would be most appropriate for them to pick up Xueju. Yabai warned. Resurrection of the most powerful person has never happened before, and I'm afraid it won't happen again in the future. Just watch and don't cause any trouble. After the eldest brother wakes up, he may go to find the fifth demon god. My third brother's apprentice is following him. You can just contact him when the time comes. Xiao Xiao still hasn't made a breakthrough in these years. But his relationship with the demon god is getting better and better. The fifth demon god has promised that after his death, Xiao Xiao can be promoted to the position of leader and entrust him with full authority to handle the funeral. The two nodded slightly and said nothing more. Yabai continued. Ying Yi, idiot, After I go to the abyss of the strongest, the third brother will come out. Master Fool is a little curious. Have you asked Zhang Xiaoyao? Ye Bai said confidently. How can I not know what third brother is thinking? After third brother comes out, he will first solve his own troubles, and then maybe go find second Master Ying. Just joking, Ye Bai said seriously. Success or failure depends on this, everyone, please. If the most powerful demon god is really forced to a dead end, then all the monsters in the abyss will go berserk. Countless monsters will also emerge from the eternal tower. If the human race wants to defend their homeland, they must withstand this last wave of counterattack. The strongest has a battlefield for the strongest. They have theirs. This war has reached its most critical moment. It doesn't require many words, it doesn't require too many inspiring words, it doesn't even require too much ceremony. Just listen to Ye Bai say softly. You're welcome. There is no need for generosity or excitement, everything is done in silence. From head to toe, the whole body is covered with dense lines, like pottery that has been broken and put back together again. The two passed by each other without saying anything. The Taoist also walked toward him. The mighty abyss. It should. We have a score that we haven't settled yet. A Taoist stood up. The Taoist stopped, turned around and said. God killer, human race, Shura. Xiaoyao looked at the butterfly and said coldly. The real Ye Bai had already gone to the abyss of power. Ye Bai said hello and walked forward. After saying that, the Taoist took a step forward and left the abyss of power. A butterfly suddenly appeared in front of the Taoist. Third brother. Ye Bai walked all the way to the deepest part of the abyss, just like going home. After everything was settled properly, Ye Bai's figure slowly disappeared from the place. You cut off the queen. The human race has been preparing for this battle for more than 100 years. A young man in white suddenly appeared in the void. The most powerful man in the human race is free and happy, returning to the world and seeing the light of day again. He raised his head slightly, feeling the indescribable terrifying monster in his eyes. This is just a projection of the power he left behind in advance. That's a leisurely thing that doesn't require anyone else to worry about. The stone sculptures that had guarded the abyss for more than 30 years slowly cracked. The blood has been drained and the wine has been drunk, just for this last battle. The mage in white clothes had a long sword slung across his waist, looking a little lazy. Waiting in silence to explode. The Taoist did not look at the powerful demon, but looked in another direction. The butterfly flapped its wings gently, and in the blink of an eye, one figure and one butterfly disappeared from the place. It's extremely quiet today.